So there's a story that takes place in Vrindavan. Uh, I was brand new devotee, and I just came. I gave up L.A. because I heard that Prabhupada may leave soon, and so I was informed that he was very sick and I should go and visit, be in Vrindavan, take advantage of the darshan that's available there with Prabhupada. So Prabhupada was. This is 4 or 5 months before he left, and so I go into the room and I sit there and with the kirtan party, and there's a little kirtan going on with small cartels and chanting, and uh, and so I told Tamal Krishna Maharaj that ultimately I don't know what to do. I just got here and now I'm being told by Jayapataka to go to Mayapur. Kirtananda want me to go to New Vrindavan. We just got here. I don't know what to think. He says, okay, well you gave a big donation, so it's sizable. So at that time, Tamal Krishna had worked out a system, but if you gave $1,000 or more, you got darshan. I didn't know that, but that was what he was making money that way for Prabhupada. And so we gave quite a bit of money. It was my life insurance policy that I cashed in on. And we brought Prabhupada's typewriter and dictaphone and many things, wigs for the deities, and ultimately we came with nothing for ourselves, everything for the gifts for the deities and for Prabhupada. So anyway, knocked on the door, Surdas knocked, there was a runner for Prabhupada. I got a call the next morning. Prabhupada wants to see you immediately. So I thought, wow, what have I done? I had forgotten everything I told it about Tamal Krishna Maharaj was going to arrange something. Anyway, so I get down there and I go into the room where Prabhupada was sitting. With the room was packed solid with all the sannyasis and GBCs, and they're like packed in that little room next to the garden. And so Prabhupada was sitting on the right. So I walked in, he was sitting there. And so Tamal introduced me here. Srila Prabhupada, here's your Bhakti Sonata Das. And the whole room started laughing, everybody cracking up. Who is this guy with this word, this amazing name? I looked over and everybody's laughing. I look over at Prabhupada. So he's smiling with this big, huge smile. He had teeth missing too at that time. There was a big, wide open smile. And so he looked at me, and then Tamal said, he's coming from L.A. with the Fate. He was working for Fate in Mayapur. Okay. So I started thinking, I have no problem. I'll go to Mayapur. But then I'm thinking, I just got here. In my mind, I'm just thinking, I'd just like to see Vrindavan first. So Prabhupada picked up on that. He says, okay, so you stay in Vrindavan. So I got both Mayapur and Vrindavan. And because of Tamal Krishna, I have that opportunity now to, all these years, 40 years in Vrindavan, serving the deities, serving Radhesham, every day on the altar, every morning. And now, here in Mayapur, to be able to, 40 years later, I finally fulfilled the desire that Jayapataka wanted to come here and work. And so I've been working with TLVP in the early days, and I helped with the design quite a bit. I made hundreds of drawings, and the initial designs there was just three. Jayapataka wasn't really involved so much. It was Bhavananda, Ambarish, and myself doing the design work in the beginning. And so Bhavananda says, I want Bhakti, I want this design with this kind of color and this kind of shape, and I want this in 10 minutes. So I did it. I just knocked out these drawings one after another, one after another. And so ultimately a lot of these drawings are still was applied to the design. The temple was built that way. So, and in a way of administering, I mean, doing devotional service here in Mayapur is different in Vrindavan. Vrindavan is now being overrun by, it's changed a lot. Vrindavan in the beginning was just very simple. Everybody knows, everybody's heard it, that there was no cars, no rickshaws. Nobody came out to the temple area because it was too far out in the wilderness. And so there was one or two cars, and they were run by Goswamis in Vrindavan. They were the taxis. And so now, after all these years, to see the development in Mayapur and Vrindavan, it's astounding that the changes that Prabhupada wanted took place without a lot of heavy endeavor. And so keep that in mind as an instrument in our lives in the future, that don't really over endeavor and try to make so much money that you think later I'll be able to find a way to preach. And once I have money, and Prabhupada made the same, he thought the same way in the beginning of his life, as we know, that ultimately decided, I'm a grihasta now, I got to make money for my family, and I'll make money, and then gradually I'll become more associated with the Gaudiya Math, with the preaching, and be able to help his Guru Maharaj. And so, anyway, it carries on like that. That Prabhupada gave us a formula that don't get caught up with the dollar bill. And there's an amazing story to illustrate that. This is in '75 in San Francisco. There was a big group of Hindus in the community that had a club. And so they invited a whole devotee group to come and take a feast, and Prabhupada spoke. And so it was a big auditorium. After the feast, we all went in up to the auditorium and listened to Prabhupada. Now, I encountered something I never expected to see. So Prabhupada's on the stage, and he was talking away, and the ladies, first was the devotees in the front rows. Then there was the ladies behind that. Then there were like the kids running around wild, and the ladies screaming and yelling and talking to each other like a bunch of hens. Then in the back of the auditorium, of the temple area, was the men chanting away and just going on and on, making a big, huge commotion. So it was enough noise that nobody could hear what Prabhupada was saying. And so Prabhupada was in the front row, we could hear okay. And so he said, don't be caught up by the sway of the dollar bill. You're born and raised in India, and you got the greatest heritage of being born in Braj Bhumi. India is like the greatest gift to mankind, because if you want religion, you got to come to India. And if you want to know more about what really is behind religion, you got to go to Vrindavan or Mayapur. In any case, he's saying, don't be caught by the dollar bill. Don't give up your heritage. But just as he said that, up comes the group leader, the chairman of the group, and he garlanded Prabhupada with dollar bills, put that over Prabhupada's head. And Prabhupada just closed his eyes, and tears were shooting out of his eyes and just watering. I was in the front row. And so it was unfortunate. And then I understood why Prabhupada didn't stay in India. He had to come to America to preach, because there was a dullness. And now that's all changed. Now, there weren't any. Prabhupada kept saying that India, the government is doing nothing to help us. We have no devotees coming from India. It's all coming from the West. I'm importing Brahmins now. We have to do that in order to survive. We're building these temples because there's a reason. Prabhupada was asked, why are you building so many temples in these foreign places? Because I'm only doing it because that's where they were before. Now that's a revolution. That's deep. And so Prabhupada instituted a whole change in the Gaudiya Math line. And so by traveling across the ocean and by doing all the things that he accomplished, because he was brave. And Prabhupada said, yes. And Prabhupada, the devotees told Prabhupada, you're very brave because you've done so many things. Yes, I'm still very brave. And so when they were building a structure in Calcutta, Victoria, big, huge building, Queen Victoria. And he climbed up the scaffolding, got to the very top of it. He said, I was brave then, I'm brave now. So, stop for a minute. Round it off.
Final words.
Anything I didn't give yet?
Up to to you.
I'm trying to think of something to end with, like
Your friend is
who's that?
a couple words. Conclusion.
Okay. Okay. In conclusion, I'd just like to reiterate the fact that money is not the God. In fact, money is just the downfall of humanity because we lose concept of spiritual life. As long as we are hanging on to money and hanging on to the whole idea of making it and giving up everything else for it, you lose sight of the whole basis of spiritual life. In fact, in America, there's nothing happening that does except the loss of spiritual life. Amongst my sisters and relatives, they have no concept of a spiritual life. They have no idea. Go to church on Sunday, and ultimately that's the end of their spiritual life. They sit there, listen to the sermon, take communion, go out and sin the rest of their life. And sit there watching them eat meat and get intoxicated. And what can I do to save these? There's nothing more you can do. It's just hopeless. In any case, don't get caught up by the material modes. Get out of the modes and get into spiritual life and become devotees. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Go Permanente Haribo.